Hey there, folks, and welcome to the Appalachian Podcast Patreon subscriber-only show. Now, we're releasing this show to the public as kind of a sneak peek into some of the content you can get as a subscriber. We typically release one show a week, but every couple of weeks or so, we try to release a subscriber-only show for our amazing subscriber base. And for only $3 a month minimum, which you can also give more if you'd like, you get uncut, uncensored shows like the one you're about to listen to. You get all of our regular shows early. First dibs on tickets to upcoming public events we'll be hosting, and discounts on gear when we get that side of things up and running. So if you'd like to subscribe and join the subscriber page, go to patreon.com/getontap. Again, that's patreon.com/getontap. And for only $3 a month, you get all this and more, and we'll be continuing to build things over there and making it more and more user-friendly for everybody out there. So for everybody that does subscribe, we can't thank you enough. Everything you do, we put right back into the show and right back in our community, so we certainly appreciate it. And for anyone else, we would certainly appreciate you to come on over and support us, support local, support Appalachia, for the people that are giving back. Again, that's patreon.com/getontap. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Patreon-only subscriber show. We apologize. We haven't been back on one of these for a couple of weeks now. Stuff has gotten incredibly busy. We've been doing a lot of shows, a lot of family stuff. Spread the word. Let everybody know about this page for only $3 a month. As you know, if you're listening, let them know. The more people subscribe, the more they chip in, the less work I have to do in the real world, and we can do this more often. I mean, if we get like 5,000 subscribers in the next couple of months, I'll quit my day job, and me and Simon will do this every day. We'll find a way. But as far as that's concerned, we just wanted to come. We hadn't had one in a couple of weeks, and it's been a nice little run here. I think the last episode you all have listened to would have been the one with Dylan Taylor, a Flora Funeral Home. And that actually ended up, Simon, a lot of people listened to that episode. The numbers are looking really good on it. It's crazy. The ones you don't think, will blow everybody's mind end up doing really well. And the ones you think that everybody in the world will tune into, it just kind of drags on. I mean, for me, I love every one of the shows. I always find something interesting with every guest we have and always have a good time. So there's some that I have more fun than others. Some I drink a little bit more than others. Some that interest me a little more than others, but I always have fun. So,
he was a very articulate young man, and I'm very pleasantly surprised that the numbers have turned good. Hey, that shows a little bit of that. This is lovely. That D word, the diversity word. It shows that we at least have a diverse audience. Why not, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, go ahead.
So when you said the D word, my first mind thought was death. And yeah, he probably should be articulate because he's dealing with dead family members and a few wrong articulate moves, and that could be a disaster.
Yeah. Well, funerals they are what they are, and you have to be a tad bit, I don't want to say political, but you have to be a talker. You really do. You have to be somebody that can talk to anybody at any point in time, in any situation. Hey, Quincy Overton was our sheriff for 30, 40 years in this town, and every single day, pretty much his job was leading the funeral procession for every single funeral in Franklin County. For one, it's a big respect thing. I think Quincy really did care about the people in this community. But for number two, it's, great politically. How else are you going to stay in front of your constituents better than going to a funeral every single day? So if you're going to the funerals, you're seeing every single family at every single funeral home, at least a couple of times a year. They remember you, they see you, and they appreciate the gesture. I like that sort of thing about this town. I think that's one of the great aspects of growing up in a small town when the sheriff can sit back and put trust in his captains and his sergeants and deputies and all that to be able to do what a sheriff is supposed to do and show respect to the people that voted him in there. So
yeah, I kind of wish that the funeral home business was a lot like the coal business. It seems to be dying out as years go on, but that ain't the case.
Oh no, it's never gonna. It's recession proof. But with all that being said, obviously you all can tell we're also being joined here by our farming buddy, Chris Montgomery. Chris, you sound a whole lot, you sound more sharp than you did on the State of Appalachia show, which hopefully we'll be releasing for you all here shortly for the Patreon subscribers. That being said, Simon, you sound a lot better too.
Yeah, if you must know, I'd been up since 3:30 that day, and I only had one meal. And, man, them New England's tasted mighty good, especially with that barbecue sauce or the barbecue vinegar or whatever. Believe it or not, that was actually pretty tasty. Just a slight zing in a really good beer. I was really wanting some V8 hot and spicy, but all in all, man, it just, I don't drink a lot. I was just trying to take a little bit of the edge off, and I loosened up a little bit. It is what it is. I mean, every dog has his day.
And we're also being joined by Jonah DeBoard, one of the gentlemen you'll recognize from a lot of our farming episodes and one of the team members here. Jonah, good to hear from you again. Sorry you missed out on the State of Appalachia show, but I guess you were come down with the crud.
Yeah, I had the flu. It was really disappointing because I had my father-in-law, coal miner from West Virginia, was supposed to be on. He was telling me all the stories like the day before, and it definitely would have been interesting. I think it would have given Simon a run for his money on some of those stories.
Well, that's what we like to hear.
Hey, Bill, the next time we get Simon good and feeling good, we need to get him to break out the story of him running from the law in England and being able to successfully evade air patrol.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Oh, did I put
I'm
like at some point?
Yeah, it's like one of the best stories I think I've ever heard, actually.
Well, I have never heard this story, so
it beats the one I told Friday night. Mainly because he didn't end up getting caught, but I'll let Simon give all the juicy details.
Simon, is that a public?
I remember this, Chris.
Is that a public show or is that a Patreon story?
That has to be a Patreon story, for goodness sake.
Yeah, probably a Patreon story, because if Simon has to keep it PG-13 when he's telling the story, that takes away. I mean, look, hey,
Got to be free flowing, right?
Clean it up, but this story has to be free flowing, because man, it's especially when it's like 15 guys sitting around just sipping on some of the finest bourbon, and Simon is telling us, man, dude, it's freaking hilarious. You think you see the fun side of Simon until you get to go back into his younger days as a young pup, so to speak.
Well, there's a chance we might release this in 3 or 4 days, just to kind of give the public a taste of what our Patreon shows are, and maybe to entice some people, to subscribe in. So we'll save that story for another Patreon. But for this one, there's a handful of stories we wanted to talk about. We're not going to keep everybody very long. Speaking of law enforcement, I guess the first story I want to jump into, because I know it's been making the rounds here the past couple of weeks in Franklin County, Virginia, and this is kind of probably a story it's reached out further than just here, and further than just our surrounding counties and stuff, because anytime you talk about the situation that we're getting ready to discuss, for some reason a lot of people get all their panties up in a twist over it. So if you haven't been under a rock for the past few weeks and haven't been to any convenience store in the town or read a newspaper or watched TV, I guess it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, allegedly a couple of chocolate Labrador retrievers, if I'm not mistaken, were reported stolen from Wade Park which is the rec area here in Franklin County. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but allegedly what had happened is the two Labradors were broke away from, the story was they broke away from their leash, and a couple of Hispanic, I guess Mexican gentlemen was what the papers reported, lured them into their Jeep and then took off. And next thing you know, there's flyers everywhere, news reports, stories. Everybody's just jumping in on this whole thing. And come to find out, I guess about a week or two in, that the owner, his name is Terry Michael, who had reported the dogs stolen, ended up confessing to killing the dogs. So, Simon, I'm gonna let you start off on this one. What do you make of this whole situation here? What are your whole thoughts on it? Because I know it's just been running rampant through the media.
Well, I mean, the initial thoughts of absolute utter disgrace and shock. But you first hear the tale of, well, there's been a dog napping at Wade Park, and these two lovely labs. I mean, it's just like, this doesn't happen here. And I thought, there's one minute they were Asian, then they became Hispanic, and it was just something didn't float quite right. And then when we heard, 10 days later, or however many days it was, that they'd been found very close by, and they'd been shot, and I'm just like, no, absolutely none of this adds up. And we'd had a discussion actually at a dinner party the night that this disclosure came out, that the husband was in fact, the bad dude in this whole escapade. And the night before, I think it was that evening, I even predicted, I said, there's one of those two is up to their neck in it. I said, there's more to this. I said, and I bet the cops are going to have them. They'll be, because it's I believe a federal offence for killing a dog. And then there's disposing of the dog inappropriately or improperly. So I even made that call before it all came out. And sure as hell, we roll back in that evening and it's on the news. I was just like, wow, that's how freaky. I hope he gets put into general population and, gets the hide beaten off him. I mean, I think, what on earth is that about? Two beautiful dogs. I despise animal cruelty. It's the one thing that will drive me through the roof. It's awful act.
And the biggest thing behind the whole ordeal was he blamed it on a different race. So you have the county, literally, you have called upon the modern day posse with your technology and everything else. People have spent a week looking for specific vehicle with a specific ethnic group of people in this vehicle, and you're the numbnuts who, I mean, I don't get the whole point behind that. I'm a dairy farmer, and I love my animals, and I'm going to be the first to tell you right now. I have put down more cows than I can count. Some of them have, we call it the splits. When they come in heat, the cows are riding each other, and sometimes one will jump up on one that's not prepared for it, or it catches her off guard and it pushes her two back legs out. And there, people have tried, different methods, and very, very, very rarely will a cow ever come back from having a split. And at that point, it becomes the most humane thing to do is to euthanize them. And I run over one when I was younger. I run over one of my pet dogs. I come in from school and he laid down behind my vehicle. He was about 15 years old, and I jumped in my vehicle, fired it up, put it in reverse, and backed over him. And it broke my heart, but I couldn't even pick him up to try and take him to the vet office. And so, I euthanized him. That's not something that I take very lightly at all. I hate doing it. And I hate to euthanize any animal that I'm not prepared to eat. And like you said, Simon, that's a felony. They should throw the book at him. Not for the fact that, for the fact of putting two perfectly good animals down. But even more so for pulling this stunt of it was Hispanics who lowered them into their vehicle. And then my wife was telling me that, and I'm like, something does not add up. Why would people, I understand stealing like a 3-ounce dog that costs $4,000, kind of like a ball of cocaine. I understand stealing that, but to steal 2 pets from somebody and then shoot them, that made no sense to me. I told my wife, I said, I don't believe any of that crap.
Well, I'm glad you brought the race thing up. I was going to ask you. I was kind of curious why is it that the people of darker skin complexion always get accused of these heinous crimes? It boggles the mind. You would think that just off of numbers alone, if you say a couple of white people, well, then your search base goes up tremendously. So I don't understand why you would make a bad situation worse by pointing out 2 Mexican gentlemen in this hostile sociological climate we find ourselves in.
Well, from what I understand, he done it because him and his wife got into an argument.
The issue you've brought up actually raises another potential charge against him, and that's actually a hate crime. Because what he's done is it's a racially motivated matter. I mean, the fact that he's disparaged, a whole race and tried to throw another race under the bus. There has to be consequences for that as well. It was just what a shocking situation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking here in that story is, you also put like other people's lives at risk because, the cops are looking for people. I mean, they're trying to do their job, and here resources from the county are being spent on something stupid because you falsify a police report. And
which is another charge.
With racial overtones.
Yeah. With racial overtones.
Which is another charge.
Yeah.
You're bloody right.
Well, I'm going to say something that before we move on to the next topic. I'm sure people are going to take this the wrong way, and I'm going to get a lot of hate mail about it. But I think people need to step back and take a deep breath over the entire situation. And I say this as somebody, I had a dog growing up. I haven't had one in quite some time now. I did have one here recently, but I had to go over the road, so I let my friend's parents take him, and he's got a great home, and I'm happy for him. A situation like this is despicable, and it really takes a horrible human being to do this to somebody or to an animal, especially a pet, especially somebody that looks to you and comes to you for warmth, comfort, all that kind of stuff. But I think people need to just take a step back and take a breath. Look, what he did was abhorrent, and he should be shamed for it and made to feel like a piece of shit for a long, long time. If it all comes out that this was something just malicious, but at the end of the day, they're animals. And God gave us dominion over animals all over the entire world. And as much as I would like to say throw him in jail and throw away the key, I think that putting somebody like him in prison, it has nothing to do with the animals. It has everything to do with humanity. And when I say that, I mean that the more we prop up the animals and the more we treat situations like this as they are humans, I think it dehumanizes us. you know, and at the end of the day, we've got so many other problems going on, and we've got so many other bad issues going on, and so many people that need to be locked up. I mean, there are rape kits out the ass that haven't been processed, and we've got rapists still walking around free out there, which now that boils down to the following the false police report and getting all this. Yes, he should go and spend time in jail for that, for taking the resources away, you know, and they could be solving another crime. But at the end of the day, I think it's abhorrent. I would never do it. I can't stand my wife's cat, but I would never kill it. I still think that throwing a man in a cage and taking him away from civilization, especially when we don't know, you know, what his motive was. Maybe he snapped. Maybe he has extreme PTSD. Maybe something we all don't know. And hopefully that'll all come out. And he probably should, you know, spend a few weekends in jail for it and, you know, some fines and stuff. But we're blurring the lines between humanity when we start taking stuff like this as serious as people want it to be taken. And I'm not saying you shouldn't shame him or not speak with him anymore if you were friends with him. Do whatever you want to do when it comes to that. And in this case is just an example, you know, like Michael Vick going to jail for 3 or 4 years for fighting dogs. Look, that's the culture they grew up in. You know, there are people out there who rape and murder to get less time. And I think that's at the end of the day what bothers me the most about it. It bothers me that he did it. It bothers me that somebody like this would be so cruel. But I also want to find solace in the fact that at least he did it to a couple of dogs. And he didn't go do it to his family or some kids or a school or something like that. You know what I mean? I just think we got to find a fine line in there and be appreciative. But also when you start putting animals up on a pedestal next to humans, it dehumanizes us. You know, we are special. Humans are special. And I think we all just need to take a step back. He should be punished for the crimes that he did commit. But, you know, the felonies and spending multiple years in jail for this, I don't think the punishment fits the crime. I mean, what do y'all think?
Well,
that's pretty contentious.
I agree with you, Billy. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I didn't realize it was when you guys were saying it was a felony. I was like, okay, I didn't realize that. That seems a little harsh.
Oh yeah, that's a killing the domesticated animal as a felony. I mean, it's I can't remember for sure, but I think it's I mean that you can lose your driver's license, your voting rights, anything that makes you a U.S. citizen, you can lose. And some pretty serious jail time. I think if convicted, you can face. I think the maximum is like 25 years.
Yeah, like I said, you can get more time you get less time for killing humans.
Maybe it's 2 years with a $25,000 fine. It's something like that somewhere in there.
Well, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the other way on this one. You know, doggy's man's best friend, and you kill my dog, I'm going to fucking kill you. It's that simple. You know, to me, they're members of the family, extended members of the family, because we've got such an endearing relationship with the domestic dog. So yeah, on the other side of that, I'd give that guy a serious going over. And that's just how I feel about it. But I appreciate my relationship with my dogs.
Yeah,
I'm not saying anybody doesn't. On that too, Simon. I can agree with you on that too. I mean, like Billy said, it's a fine line. It's a real fine line.
And it's something that's been around here, my house lately. Dogs and animals and this whole culture, pet, owner or whatever culture has been kind of bleeding over into my farm lately. And like Billy said, it's kind of hard. Like I have people that are lakefront that have Labradors, but they're letting them run loose and they're coming onto my property and they're coming on, and they're acting aggressive. And that's where it's like I have a fine line between, dogs, and then it'd be interesting to talk about the livestock harassment laws in Virginia.
As long as you catch them in the act, you have every right. You have every right to defend your livestock.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it needs to be talked about more, or people need to know that, because, like I said, I have people that come, for vacation at the lake, and I have one guy come over. He's like, I can't find my dog, German Shepherd. And I was like, hey, bud, it's supposed to be on a leash. You know, you're not supposed to let your dogs run around the whole county. I was like, I haven't seen him, but I was like, hey, there's some farmers around here. You might just want to tell them to ask them and be like, you know, you know, he's like, well, he would never hurt a fly. And I was like, I've seen a lot of dogs.
Unfortunately, there, Jonah, the statistics are very, very clear on this, particularly with small livestock such as goats, sheep, pigs and what have you. But the statistics stands that 85% of domestic kills of these livestock are by domestic dogs. It's not the coyote, it's the domestic dog. So, you know, there is that, and again, it's another line drawn, isn't it? You know, I mean, I raise lamb, and if there's a domestic dog harassing and killing them, I will take that, you know, appropriate action.
And you know,
and at that point, you know, you like to think there'd be a gentleman's agreement, you know, over the fence with neighbours. You know, I've got livestock here. Please don't. If you can control your dogs and not have them come across the property line, great. Everything can be great and hunky dory. But it's when that collapses, and then when they pack up, when dogs pack up, and we're going to see that now because we've got this dreadful inflation and cost of living expense, where the dog's food is going to be, you know, chopped from the family budget, and you're going to have these dogs turned out. We're seeing this now in the pounds and across the county. But if they stay out and become feral and pack up, that is not going to be a good outcome.
And, you know, Simon, back to what you said earlier, I don't disagree with you whatsoever. Whenever we finally pack up and move back to the farm, I plan on getting a couple of dogs, and they'll be like the family. They'll be there to protect, you know, first and foremost, my kids, you know, but secondly, the land around us. And I don't besmirch anybody who has those feelings. I think if it's your dog and somebody else comes and does something, hey, look, they're on your property. You do what you got to do. I don't besmirch. I think my point was for the greater picture, not this specific, not this isolated incident, just for the bigger picture alone. When it comes to, you know, putting pets up there with human beings, I don't want to go down the slippery slope.
I get that argument.
You know what I mean?
I get that argument. I really do. Just on a religious standpoint, everyone's going to be nodding their heads, going, you know what? I do get that. I see that is a classic bigger picture. I get it. I'm nodding my head.
Because it's not just, you know, an incident that does require attention like this. It might be an incident that's a little more murky. You know, the waters might be a little more muddy in this situation, and they might come in here, and it happens all the time with humans. You know, people get locked up for killing a human when they're innocent. People get locked up for things they didn't do all the time. And I don't want to see people get locked in cages, you know, over animals for extended periods of time to, you know, justify something that where the punishment doesn't fit the crime. But speaking,
the shithead compounded that argument by making a false report.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know,
he's completely in the wrong here from what we've heard so far.
You apply the 3S rule here in Franklin County, and I know every farmer knows exactly what it is. You shoot, you shovel, and you shut up.
Well, some cases you don't shovel because that incriminates. But anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Indeed. Moving on, Billy. Next subject.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about this one now. This one right here, once again, we'll have to wait for the entire story to get out. But just from what I've gathered so far, this one really has my blood boiling. I'm going to just read it here for you really quick because it's very short. Actually, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to give you the incident. Apparently, there was a Franklin County resident.
Read it for us, Billy. Read it for us. Okay.
Virginia State Trooper T.R. DeRocha, and I believe DeRocha is a common name in the Snow Creek area of Franklin County. I'm just kidding. I don't know whether I've never heard the name in my life. Testified about his interaction with Morris that day, and we're talking about Michael Morris, who's a Franklin County resident. When I first observed it go through the intersection, talking about his car, his four-way hazards were on. I immediately hit my emergency lights and proceeded through the intersection, said Trooper Dipshit. DeRocha said that he saw Morris run numerous lights on Route 419 and also clocked him driving 65 to 68 miles per hour before turning into Lewis Gale Medical Center. Morris said he placed a 911 call while the trooper was following him to let him know he was taking his daughter to the ER. That message wasn't immediately relayed. Were you aware there was a 911 call made with regards to your incident? The defense attorney asked. Not until I had him outside of his vehicle, answered the trooper. Trooper said he instructed the mother and the child to go inside the ER during his exchange with Morris. I'm not a doctor. I see what I see. I see what I can see. I'm not going to hold them if they are sick. I see what I can see. They repeated that twice. My safety concern and primary concern is Mr. Morris, Trooper said. The defense pressed more on about what happened after the stop and the reason behind Morris's actions. They argued that it did not show willful and wanton disregard. The prosecution disagreed and said there's probable cause that he committed the offense. The judge ruled that the case would go to a grand jury on April 7th. So basically, this was a father, and his daughter was incredibly sick, and he was rushing her to the hospital. He had four ways on. He was going fast, but at that point in time, I understand the prosecution side of things. I understand that they're worried about safety and this kind of thing, but fortunately, nothing else happened. He got there. At that point in time, give him a stern talking to, whatever you got. But to take this to court, the man was trying to get his daughter to the hospital. He contacted 911. He had his four ways on. He acknowledged he knew you were behind him, and you all still are going to take him to court over this. I have serious issues with this kind of justice.
Yeah, I mean,
I do too, Billy. I do too, because good luck catching me. If I'm taking my daughter to the ER and I've made that 911 phone call, you're gonna have to charge me with reckless driving, whatever, and you're gonna have to put me in. Which I do believe they put him in handcuffs because he was trying to explain to me what was going on. The article I read. Good luck catching me is all I got to say, because at that point in time, you go into father mode, and the adrenaline is pumping. He done the right thing. He made the 911 call explaining to the dispatch what was going on. Dispatch should have immediately notified whatever state trooper was in there. But here's the switch up. So if he made the 911 call to Franklin County and to explain him what's going on, is that state trooper running the same channels as Franklin County, or is he running on a state police channel and he's not getting that call?
He made the 911 call during the pursuit, allegedly. I think he made it during the pursuit to let the trooper know what was going on. So when you're in Franklin County and you make your way to Salem, he was already in the Salem area. So that call should have went to whatever precinct is closest to where his cell phone tower was pinged. Because if you call 911 in Franklin County, you're going to get Franklin County. If you're in Montgomery County, you're going to get Montgomery County. However it works like that, it reached somebody closer than Franklin County, I almost have to assume.
So that call should have been, the dispatch should have disseminated that to whoever when he told him where he was going. Right.
I get this line of argument, but we can. I think we need to dismiss it because we're going on to the bigger picture here, Billy. Hate to quote you on it. The bigger picture is that either the assistant district attorney or the district attorney or the county attorney, whoever decides that is a case subject to prosecution, that guy's an arse, right? The cop that handled the initial traffic stop and continued, that got personal. I mean, he made a mistake. He should never have put that charge forward. So he's an arse to start with. Anyone who considers on a prosecution that this warrants a trial, what are you? I just don't understand.
You're an asshole.
And then what judge would even consider putting that case in his courtroom, knowing full well that either the three magistrates or the jury would swing around and go, "You got to be kidding me, right? Throw that case out." But if the judge doesn't do it, so the whole judicial system, quite frankly, is a little bit screwed on this. And they've allowed it to perpetuate. And shame on every single one of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think too
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say the mindset of the people anymore in America is, well, there's professionals for that. You're supposed to let the professionals handle it, and it's, you know, we've lost that independent streak of, you know, let me be able to take care of myself. You know, we've made all these different professionals, and you have to go through there, and you got to call an ambulance, and you know, all this. I think that's one thing that's probably led into that a little bit. Was, you know, how dare he run, you know, how dare that father, you know, run the speed limit and run red lights. You know, he's not trained for that. He doesn't have the proper blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, I mean, it's an emergency. Like, he has the right, you know, he seemed like he was proceeding safely. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
he did everything he could.
Apparently he was running
68 to 70 mile an hour. That's safe. I mean,
well, it was in a 45-mile-an-hour zone. With that being said, I think it was at nighttime or later on in the evening. I see people running almost that fast on that same road during the day with traffic and people everywhere, and there's never a cop to be found.
Bumper to bumper.
Everywhere, yeah.
Bumper to bumper.
So if it's really about safety, you all would actually be out there patrolling that road every single day, and I'd see people pulled over nonstop, but I don't. And I get your safety aspect of it, because if he'd hit somebody else or hit another car, then you have multiple people that are injured or hurt. So yes, there is a little bit of concern with that. That being said, that didn't happen. He made it to the hospital safely. He made it.
He was under 17, which in my mind, and the way I drive, is showing considerable restraint.
Agreed.
Under the circumstances.
For sure.
Yeah,
Like I said earlier,
70 ain't nothing. I hate to break that news. Newsflash.
Yeah.
70 mile an hour, in my perspective, is at snail's pace.
No,
yeah,
not
that's
when.
also probably is where the cop was. You know, isn't it above 20 miles an hour of the speed limit? You're doing a felony. You can be charged with a felony.
Reckless driving. Reckless driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? I mean, they'll
I
probably.
just hope Sheriff Overton isn't listening.
Well, I think they might even be considering, you know, like charging him with evading police. And that is not the case whatsoever. Now, if you want to get him for speed and reckless driving, fine. I don't think he probably gives a rat's ass because his daughter got to the hospital. But evading police, when you acknowledge that the cops are behind you, you have your four ways on, and you have called 911 to let them know what the situation is. That is not evading police. You didn't get out of the car and start running when you got to the hospital. You got out. I mean, this is what's wrong. Like Simon said, this is what's wrong with our freaking justice system. They are clogging up the courts with bullshit like this, while rapists and murderers and drug dealers are walking free and killing people and all. You know, it's mind-boggling. It's completely ridiculous. Evading police. That state trooper should have never even showed up to court that day. He should have sat there and said, "You know what? I'm just
that file should have been dismissed as soon as he tried to file it. It was just like, no, come on, mate. Come on, mate. This isn't how we.
I mean,
this isn't how we
you
do
know,
it.
you know, this has got to be on the police officer's mind, because at some point he's trying to do his job. I understand that.
He should have been escorting.
On the other side of him, he's got to have that that morale, or what's the word?
The morals.
The morality. Morals.
Morality.
He's got to have the morals that say, yes, he broke your law. But you know what? On the other hand, if this cop doesn't have kids, one part of him's got to be like, man, if that was my daughter, I would probably do the same thing. You would hope that he would have that compassion and understanding, because like I said earlier, if that was my kid,
we'd all do the same thing.
We don't. But here's the thing, though. We don't know that if he tried to call 911, from, you know, just the information that I've gathered, you know, they knew. I mean, his daughter, you know, she was having a rough night. I don't, you know, and my daughter has had rough nights. But when you look down and you see your kid going blue, to hell with the EMTs. And sitting around waiting 30 minutes for them to get to your house. That's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, he threw his daughter in the truck, and that's 30 minutes that he had to get her that much closer. You know, if it was that big of a deal, why didn't they call the EMTs out and say, hey, we need y'all to meet him. You know, he's headed here. Y'all are leaving here. Looks like there's going to be a good meet spot right here. And the dispatch say, hey, ambulances is 5 minutes out, continue driving, pull over at such and such, ambulance will meet you there. Why didn't that happen?
Why don't a lot of things
baffling.
See what I'm saying?
I mean, absolutely baffling. It shows that the technology that they have available was not used.
People in Callaway and Firm, all that is volunteer. Yes, there's people that stay there overnights and shifts and stuff like that. But when you live 45 minutes from the closest hospital and the EMTs has got to drive out there 45 minutes, the hell with that. I'm driving towards the EMTs. I'm not waiting.
Yeah, it's
minutes and seconds count, and absolutely. And these are man's laws that, quite frankly, are completely corrupted to start with. So I look at them somewhat mockingly. But when this clown does what he did, and then is supported by the whole judicial system, I think, I think we've got a little bit of a problem here.
Yeah.
This isn't how this works.
I'm seeing this right here.
And at the end of the day, the legal system, let's not forget that the whole legal system, much like the medical system, are the only two that you practice at. Think about that for a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I missed the first.
Let's just be real. Let's just be real. This man is looking at what?
Felony for eluding
his
police.
License,
A felony.
Eluding police. How many years in jail?
I mean, most likely
5 to 10.
He could face that. Most likely, what'll happen is they'll knock it down or something like that. But that's not even the point. The point is that
for saving his daughter's life.
It shouldn't even be in the court systems anyway. It shouldn't be a waste of our time and resources.
Agreed. Exactly.
And that trooper, once he found out what was going on and his daughter was in the hospital, he should have just said, you know what? I'm glad everything's happened. It all worked out. Next time, just whatever we can do to make it different, let's try that out. Like it's going to be a next time. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't an everyday thing. That trooper on the spot should have just let him go. And that's what it all boils down to. It should never even made the courts. He had it in him. He had the authority to sit there and say, you know what, I understand. Instead, I guess he wrote him a ticket, took him to jail, whatever the case may be, which I can't. F this guy. To hell with him.
I'll do you one better. When the state trooper had to have known what was going on from the amount of time that he followed him to the amount of time that he pulled into the hospital, the state trooper had to have known what was going on. When the guy got out of his vehicle, the state trooper said, "Get your family in the hospital. Here's my card. When everything is settled, we'll talk."
Yeah, it wasn't like he was going anywhere. But this brings up something else I think real quick people need to keep in mind. When you get jury duty, a lot of people sit there and they roll their eyes and say, "Oh, I can't believe I got to do this, blah, 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 whatever." Look, jury nullification is huge. All it's going to take is one person on that jury, if it goes to trial, to sit there and say, "No, I'm not going to vote guilty on this thing." And that goes for a lot of other trials. If you go and sit on a jury and you have every right to say not guilty for a charge that you deem to be just ridiculous. Like if somebody gets caught with an ounce of marijuana and they want to throw them in jail for a year, as a jury member, you can sit there and say not guilty and hang that jury and either make them retry it or they'll just drop it all together because they don't really want to deal with it and all the paperwork over that. Jury nullification is a huge, huge, huge thing people need to take more seriously. We have the power as people, as a jury of their peers, to sit here and be done with these stupid, ridiculous charges. Look, stop just buying into what the prosecutor's saying. Stop buying into either with the defense, just your own morals. Go in there and say, you know what, this doesn't seem right. I'm not going to vote to send a man to a cage with animals who rape and murder or whatever the case may be because he was speeding to get his daughter to a hospital or because he had an ounce of marijuana on him or he had a small little tad bit of cocaine or whatever the case may be. You have the power. So stop rolling your eyes at jury duty, accept it, go do it, take a couple days off of work and stop putting people in cages for ridiculous. I don't care what the law says. There are 50,000 laws on our books. Every single person in this country breaks multiple laws. In fact, I think 3 felonies a day. Stop empowering these people. Stop empowering.
I actually think it's more than that, Billy. I read a study here not too long ago. I honestly think it's like 8 to 10 felonies a day, and like I think a total of like 20 law breaks a day. I think.
Yeah, and you don't even know it. You're not intentionally trying to do it.
Felonies.
We just have so many freaking laws on the book so they can control us. That's what it's all about. It's all about control. This is about control. This is about power and authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, when I had jury duty a few years ago, and it was eye-opening how ignorant. They're very smart people on the jury, but how ignorant they were about how the legal system went, or like what power the jury has. It was very eye-opening.
Well, I mean, that you're supposed to be 12, supposed to be 12 peers. And they go through, in some cases, in bigger cases, they have jury selection. It shouldn't be selection. It should be random in the lottery. It should be you 12 get picked, a couple alternates, and it is what it is. But they'll go through there and they'll decide, oh, this one isn't good enough. No, that's not how it should be. It should be 12 people randomly selected, and you get what you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people say a group of peers. You can go ahead, Chris.
I'm sitting here on the fence because, one part of me wants you to go to trial, and one of those jurors say, this is outrageous, he's not guilty, and just make the whole rest of them look like asses. But the father part of me is scared if it does go to trial that, they'll all say, well, I mean, they're just so blind as to what exactly went on and how it went down and the laws, and everybody's going to say, yeah, he's guilty. And then that father's looking at, 2 to 5 years.
So then we've got a plea deal. Yeah. What a load of bollocks.
Or even if think about the lawyer fees.
Then he has all his, lawyer fees, and then he has his rights stripped from him. And so, so I mean, I want it to go to trial, and I want there to be one juror that says, F y'all. This is stupid. But on the other hand, looking at it from a father's point of view, I mean, his life is going to be destroyed either way. I mean, it's not like it's going to be a $2,000 lawyer fee. I mean,
it's utterly preposterous.
He's going to have what? $80,000 in lawyer fees if it goes to trial. I mean, what's the rate of a lawyer right now? I mean, this is.
You may not want to ask me that question there, Chris.
This is plumb stupid. I mean, us four shouldn't even be sitting here. I mean, this shouldn't even be something for us to talk about.
This should have been sorted out a long time ago, right?
This shouldn't even be something we should have to talk about. I mean, it should have not even made the damn news.
Nope, should have never happened. Yep. But unless we talk about it, then nobody else is going to talk about it. Nobody's going to get riled up. So we have to talk about this kind of stuff.
No, I am 100% in. I am 100% in. I'm behind this father. If
I think everybody
anything
is.
I can do to help him out, I will do it and to help him out. But what I'm saying with that is, yes, we need to talk about it because this is just it's from, and I'm getting so wound up. I'm starting to cuss. It is so stupid that a father saving his daughter's life, and the police officer, if I remember correctly, said that he'd done everything in a safe manner other than breaking the laws and speeding. I mean, anyway, I got to stop.
Well, let's jump on to our third topic then. We might get into that later because we're going to follow that case. And if anybody knows Mr. Morris and can reach out to him, tell him to reach out to us, and maybe we'll do what we can do to, if there's a GoFundMe for his attorney fees or whatever the case may be to help him. I don't know him, but if anybody out there listening does know him, have him reach out to us. The last topic I want to jump into. Yep. The last topic I want to jump into here is more solar farms. And apparently there's a new solar farm being proposed in Burnt Chimney.
Oh boy. Here we go again.
We've talked about this stuff before. I had gotten a letter from a concerned listener.
Get your smoke machines out and pry your butt cheeks apart and let's get to blowing smoke.
Yeah. I had a concerned listener.
There ain't no other way to put. Huh?
I said I had a concerned listener reach out to me about this, and apparently they're proposing one, and the address was somewhere around the 4800 block of Burnt Chimney Road. This person says they really haven't heard anybody. They've been going around to neighbors and talking to them and haven't heard anything from the solar company. Apparently March 1st at the Pig River Center. I don't have a time yet, but apparently that's the day that they're having a meeting about this. Now,
so Billy, let me jump in here right quick. I was just in a meeting tonight, and I actually was sitting beside one of the. I was sitting beside a couple who happens to be neighboring to this property, this will be the second meeting on this proposed site, and she was telling me some stuff, and I'm like, oh wow. So the first meeting, they kind of kept it hush hush. It got out, and they ended up packing. I think they had it at the library in Rocky Mount. They ended up packing that one out. So the second meeting, and if you go and look up the proposals for this is what she was telling me. And she's been doing some research. The the proposal acres that it will take up on the map is 38 acres. But here's the BS part. So she was telling me the proposal was 38 acres. That's just the amount of acres of post in the ground.
yeah, I'm saying 184 acres.
Yeah, 184 acres. But on the paper, it said, she was telling me that it said, it was saying 38 acres, or maybe she meant to say 138 acres. But that was just the amount of post that was in the ground. That's just the acres of post in the ground. That's not including the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, that's line by mission.
And here's the other thing that crawls my goat. Now I am 100% all about property rights. Don't tell me what I can and can't do on my own property. I pay taxes on it. Stick your nose somewhere where the sun don't shine, because it's my property. I work my butt off. I make a payment on it. I pay the taxes on it. Don't tell me what I can and can't do. So with that being said, I sit on the fence. But here is what so if that man wants to put solar panels on his property, I can't argue with that.
I get it. I get it.
That's the part of me. But here's where I absolutely get furious, and I wish to the good Lord that I could have been at the last meeting, where that lady called in. It was right around the fall time. She called in. She worked for the solar company, and they were asking her all these questions, and she was blowing smoke, and this is the cleanest energy we have available, and this and that. And I'm sitting here, and I'm literally sitting in the tractor doing work, and I'm like, guys, tell her to cut the smoke machine off, blow the smoke back out your hind end, and see that this is not true. The whole thing is a smoke screen. So, they say, oh, it's your land. You can do whatever you want to. We're going to have solar panels on it for 30 years. After that 30 years, you'll be able to go back in. The land will have rested. It'll be prime farmland again. What I'm here to tell you is the family that I don't know how old they are, but 30 years. So if the landowners are in their 30s and 40s or 50s, period, if the landowners are in their 50s, 30 years from now, 90%, they're not going to get to see it be farmland again. If their children are 30% or 30 years old, 90%, they probably won't see it happen again. Their grandchildren, if they're lucky, their grandchildren will get to see it. Now, here's the thing. what happens? These are questions that have not been answered. So if you have a group of family members, say 3 family members, brothers and sisters or sisters and brothers, and they make an agreement, sign a contract. Everything is peachy. They're looking at all the money that's coming in. What happens if they die out and there's no provisions put in the future for their children and grandchildren? Does that company assume possession of the land because their solar panels are on it? I don't know. Those are questions that were asked that were not answered. The other thing is, the nice young couple that I was sitting beside tonight, she asked the question is, if this thing catches on fire, which they have been known to do, if this thing catches on fire and it spreads to my land, burns my crop, my house, my barn, if it burns all my stuff down, who's responsible for that? The solar company says, well, we have, what's the name of it?
Some form of indemnity insurance.
Insurance, but it only covers so much of X amount. I mean, if it burns $1 million worth of stuff, well, it'll only cover 100,000. No, that's your piece of property. You're the one that's your product. You said that it was great, that we wasn't going to have any problems, and it caught fire, burnt my place down. Your ass is on the hook for everything. Or is that the landowners? This was a question that was asked that they could not answer, other than we have insurance that'll cover X amount of dollars of it.
You'll have insurance companies battling that out at the lawyer's expense, and there goes that vicious circle of getting nothing done whilst appearing to be doing the right thing. It's a classic.
Y'all got me fired up. I got just like 2 to 3 more minutes of the rant, and then I'll be done. The other thing is, there was a message that went out looking for sheep farmers to graze this land. And from what I understood, they were looking for multiple sheep farmers. They got the hold of, the company themselves got a hold of one sheep farmer's number. And from what I understand, if it all goes through, this one sheep farmer will get the whole contract.
It's gonna be a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
I was tempted, Chris, but I don't trust them.
I know. And then last but not least, solar energy. Well, I got 2 more. Solar energy is the cleanest energy we got. Here we go. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Penny Blue got up after Thad Montgomery spoke at a board meeting one night. And this is what, the other day when we were talking, and I said that nothing drives me nuts worse than somebody standing up behind somebody who does not speak unless he knows what he's talking about, and says that the information he just put out there was unfactual, and just, I don't think that these people know what they're talking about. Green energy is so good for everything. Well, if green energy is so good, then why is Germany pulling their shit out faster than rabbits? And if you're a man in Germany that owns forestry, then you are the richest man in Germany right now, because they cannot get enough firewood fast enough to keep up with the demand, because their solar programs aren't worth shit. They are ripping them out and going back to their coal and their wood and their oil. I mean, if you're not looking overseas to see what's going on with somebody who has given in to the far climate change leftists before we did, and see what's going on, then why are we putting our feet forward and going towards that way? Why not pull the reins back and be like, whoa, wait a minute, something don't seem right. Why is Germany doing all that? That doesn't seem right. If this crap was worth its weight in gold, like they say it is, why is Germany doing that? why is all these other countries going back to burning coal and oil and wood? Something don't add up. And it don't add up to me when we, when we're sitting there and this lady has no negative effects. There's nothing negative about putting a solar farm in. Well, I can tell you one thing. The machines that they use to move the earth, they're big enough to burn 12,000 gallons of fuel in a 24-hour time period. And that goes for a Tesla battery too. The machine, and it's like 100,000 ton of earth has to be moved to get enough material to build one Tesla battery. And the machine that moves the earth will burn 12,000 gallons of fuel in a 24-hour shift. There's nothing clean about that. I mean, my 93 F-250 7.3 Power Stroke burns a lot cleaner than that. The emissions on my John Deere tractors, we have problems with tractors now because they've put all these death emissions on, and you fill the death up and it crystallizes around the edge. Well, if that falls into your tank, then it clogs your filter up, and then you're looking at another $5,000 worth of exhaust work you have to have done. But back in 1997 and the early 2000 models that didn't have it on there, you don't have a lick of problem out of them things. Get out of here. Solar energy is the cleanest energy we got. That's a bunch of malarkey. And the last thing I got on this whole ordeal is this solar farm going to cost us, the taxpayer, the citizens of Franklin County, money?
Yes, it is. It's government subsidized from the federal government.
And are we going to benefit from these solar farms in our own community?
Where's the energy going?
Is that energy going towards my power bill? Because I can tell you my power bill's doubled, and I'm madder than a damn hornet, man. A Japanese hornet at that.
Well, I think there's a lot of issues. Like one issue that I had was the company is not putting this out there and not making it publicly known. They're using smoke and mirrors to keep the public from knowing what's happening. Really. I mean, this should have been all over the news, should have been everywhere. Everybody should have known about this. In Franklin County, either because, oh, it's so great, look, we're going to have a solar farm, or look, it's so horrible. Whichever way, I'm surprised it hasn't been talked about before now. The other thing is about the government subsidies. It's federally government subsidized, but a lot of people don't realize in Virginia, because of our stupid former governor tying us to the California state emission laws, if a power company that operates a generation facility in Virginia, if they have X number of, megawatts of dirty, like coal, gas, they have to offset that. If they want to produce that electricity in Virginia, they have to offset that with green energy in Virginia. So a lot of people don't realize Smith Mountain Dam hydroelectric is not considered green energy because it's a pump storage. It pulls electricity off the coal-fired plants. That's one of the reasons why AEP is investing heavily in solar right now, is so they can offset Smith Mountain, they can offset everything else because of the laws that have been passed. That's the reason all this is here now. Solar only makes sense financially for a company because the federal government is giving them like 22% subsidies or something stupid. It is so high that they're using taxpayer money to be able to give these companies money to make it worthwhile just to build this stuff.
Well,
so there's a lot. Yeah, it is, but it's highway robbery, and I mean, yeah, all electricity is going to be around here, but is it going to make your power bill go down? It's not. They're so inefficient. They are so inefficient in this area. It doesn't even make sense to have one. Like, it makes sense in the desert. Like, go in the desert where nobody has any arable land. But around here, they're not even putting them to where they can move and track with the sun. They're putting certain percentage facing this, way, a certain percentage facing noon, and a certain percentage facing this other way. They're not even that efficient. It's all political game, and I wish people would understand that. It is. They act like it's for us.
Farmland.
Oh yeah. Hey, but you got sheep now, and but we're supposed to be eating bugs in the future. What are we going to do with sheep? It's idiocracy. Idiocracy is what is coming down the pipe.
I got one more thing I want to add. And this stays with this, but so I got a message that they're proposing putting in a 2-lane road over at the Summit View to go to the other one. Is local excavating businesses that are in Franklin County that pay Franklin County taxes, are they going to be the ones to get that job? If not, I'm not on board. Are local businesses getting the excavating jobs for these solar units? If we're paying companies out of North Carolina or Washington or wherever these other companies are from to put in solar panels that's supposed to be benefiting us, if we have outside contractors and they're not taking care of our, what did Thad say? If they're not courting our local businesses to get this work done, hell no. Go pound sand. You take care of your community members first. The people that pay your bills, that pay taxes in your county, you take care of them. They're the ones that should get these contracts, not these outside companies. I'm sorry. I'm done. Like I said, shut the smoke machine off.
I agree with you 100% on that alone. And the way that the county or the town of Rocky Mount seems to be able to spend its tax dollars outside of the county for the benefit of the inside of the county, none of it makes sense. They should be looking for local contractors to pick up these jobs, and that way you're keeping the money in the county. If it's going outside, you haven't done your job.
And look at this. Right off the top of my head, you've got Bowman Excavating. They're a massive excavating company right here in the county off of Windy Gap. I mean, not Windy Gap, Grassy Hill. You got Hubbard's Excavating. Their home base is actually located out of Botetourt. Half of their family lives in Franklin County. They pay taxes here. You've got Sobo, Sheldon Bowman Excavating. He's not that big yet, but he's here. You've got Simmons Excavating. I mean, literally a half a mile down the road from where this site is being proposed. You have Hodges Excavating. You have JB Excavating. I mean, it's so many excavating companies right here, and I guarantee you one thing: won't none of them get the contract for it. The one that stands the one that should be at the very top of the list, for the simple fact of he should be able to come in on the lowest bid because he has the least distance to travel to the job is Simmons. Literally, he is a half a mile down the road from where this site is proposed. And I guarantee you, none of the people that I just listed off will get this job.
Yeah, and that's just, and we've got to be encouraging. Well, when it comes to public jobs, I agree 100% that our administrators should be using local contractors above and beyond all others for the very sensible reason of keeping the money in the county. And they've got to start acting like businessmen.
And I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better. So I just give you the contract, the excavating contractors. Let me give you the welding contractors. You've got Iron Spike, Layman's LCI, Iron Spike, LCI, Elliott Works, Blackwater Welding, I mean, sight reach, that's 6 off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's at least 10
Well,
more.
it brings up a good point. The fact that we are self-sustainable here. We've got plenty of people in this town, in this county. We've got a ton of ready and able bodies to come in here and at least keep the money in the town. So those are questions that ought to be raised as well. And, Simon, I know we've talked about solar panels on here before, and I agree with what you and Chris said earlier. When it comes to individual property rights, yes, you should be able to do whatever you want to do on that property. And I don't think that our local governments, board of supervisors, really have a lot of say-so in this matter with the solar panels. But if enough of us show up to these meetings, if enough people show up, perhaps the people that are getting offered this money might think twice and be like, well, if nobody shows up, then nobody cares, and what do they care? That's why we have to be invested in this. That's why we have to show up and voice our concerns. One of my big questions about this is, I've made a lot of deliveries to a lot of these places, and the people working I've spoke with have said it's pretty much a scam. And I know, they claim that after 30 years, they'll come back in here and they'll take up everything or whatever they got to do. Well, what's the likelihood that the company that builds these solar panels is even going to exist in 30 years? Or better yet, what's the likelihood that they end up dismantling that company, closing it down, whatever the case may be, and reopening under another name that is not obligated to come back in here? One of those two things is the most likely scenario here, that those things are never going to be taken up. I know they say they're going to, but who's on the hook? If that company goes bankrupt or disperses or whatever the case may be, or files under a new, what happens then? Has anybody asked those questions?
Right now what's happening is, for so many amount of, I don't know if it's in kilowatts or megawatts, you get what they call green credits. And at the end of the year, if you get a company gets so many green credits, it's worth as much money. They have to offset their bad energy. This is all this. It's so much bullcrap. But a lot of big utilities are these small companies come in, build these solar farms, and then they will sell the rights to large companies, so they can get the green energy credits that they need to be able to do business. That's my whole beef in all this matter, is just how much just bullcrap is going, political bullcrap is going on behind the scenes that nobody in the public has been educated about. It's just, it was a lot of it was last governor. Yeah, it's smoke and mirrors. A lot of it is a lot of it was from the last governor. It's this green energy cult. It's utter stupidity. Which, if a farmer's making a ton of money and that's the way that he's got to survive, at least out of the land, I don't blame him one bit. But for everybody to go in here and lie to the public, like you guys are saying, to lie and not have this, and everybody knows that corporate America, is so honorable and they're going to, keep their word. There's other issues. There's other issues with this, my wife's getting into electromagnetic force, EMF, because she got health problems. She was like, what about this? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, some solar panels are not that clean if you believe in that, if you think it's that negatively effective. That stuff is dirty.
Yeah, so, what's it going to do to the land? What's it going to do to the animals around the area? There are multiple things.
Yeah, what's going to happen is you're going to have your ram out there. Yeah. You're going to have your ram out there laying up underneath the solar panels, and lightning's going to strike, and it's going to bust the glass, and he's going to get covered in radiation. And next thing you know, you'll be having sheep running around with 16 legs and 2 heads and pumps like camels has got.
Not picking on my
Monsanto. But it's funny y'all brought up the bankrupt thing. Just here, half a mile from my house, a lady put solar panels up. It was a company called Pink Energy. Does that sound right?
No idea.
No, I don't know.
Pink Energy. They was the greatest thing. They had signs up and down the road the whole time that they were putting these solar panels on this lady's house. And one day the signs were gone, and I didn't see them working anymore. I thought everything was done. Everything must be hunky dory. a couple weeks later, I was talking to another neighbor, and I noticed this guy out on the roof, and I was like, "What's the guy out on the roof doing?" He's like, "Oh, he's here to finish helping her set up the programming and switch everything over to the solar." And I was like, "Well, I thought the company done that." He's like, "Oh no, they got done and they went bankrupt." And I was like, "They went bankrupt or they sold out? What happened?" He was like, "Well, from my understanding, they went bankrupt." I mean, that was the hottest thing in this area was Pink Energy, or it was something to that name of that. And they were this big solar company, and they went bankrupt before they even completed her house. No, I not for 1 second do I believe in 30 years that company that puts all this crap up will be around to take it down and put new ones up or do whatever. And not for a second do I believe that if a company goes bankrupt, your 30 years is up, it's time to take them out. I guarantee you one thing. If it ain't a company around responsible enough to take care of it, and you try to do it yourself, you'll have your butt locked up in jail.
What do you think about all this, Simon?
Well, I've got to go and bugger off and feed animals right now.
Yeah, I got to be getting off here too.
Yeah.
Well, y'all done got me fired up. Let's go. I mean, come on now. This is Rant Fest, man.
Well, I just wanted Simon to get us out of
here.
here.
Y'all don't have a podcast.
You need to break.
Y'all know y'all don't have a podcast that lasts no more than 3 hours with me.
I just wanted Simon to take us on out of here with whatever he thought, because he hadn't said much about the solar panels on this show. So,
well, I mean, none of it's clean energy. If anyone thinks it is, they've got their head up their ass. I was setting up the offshore wind farms on the English side of the channel and the Dutch and German side, and if I was to tell you how many tons of diesel fuel we were burning just to put these platforms up, you'd be horrified. There's nothing clean about it. Tons. We're talking tons of fuel. So the solar panel thing, if it's your own land, do whatever you like. I can't complain. I mean, that's one of my things. If it's public land and public funds, where's the energy going? And is it for you to be an energy developer or not? Quite frankly, I don't think any county has that level of professionalism and expertise to do it. So get out of that business. It's none of you. It's none of yours.
Yeah.
Stop being what you're not.
Yeah, I'll agree. And we'll end on that one. I'll say that, once again, property rights, individual property rights, do what you want to do. But this is also our community. We all need to show up in solidarity and then voice our concerns and ask our questions. Because if 150 people show up and make that room a little warm, maybe the people who are thinking about doing this will think twice. And maybe the next person will think twice. And finally, they'll just decide they don't want to come here anymore. And, we'll find other ways to enrich ourselves.
Hey, Billy.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to pack a room out when it's from 4 to 6.
Well, we'll have to figure something out.
I bet the fact.
So this is supposed to be going on March 1st. And once again, we'll try and share the exact time, but be talking amongst yourselves, talk to people. We appreciate everybody that tunes in. You all are our advertising. You all are our promotional people. So go out there and tell 2 friends, tell 3 friends about us. Come and listen to us, because that's the best way to get the word out there. We like doing the big shows. We like going out there and talking to people all over the country, all over Appalachia. But a lot of these times, these Patreons, we like kind of keeping it a little closer to home and talking about what's going on here in this community. So share this link with your friends. Let them know it's only $3 a month minimum. You can give more. Plenty of people do. Thank everybody that does give. It really, really does help. It's really helping us, bring in some bigger guests and do some things to that nature. Have an announcement here soon. Hopefully I'm about to iron out a date with Spike Cohen and his people. Supposed to be coming up around the end of May. He's going to stay 2 or 3 days. There's going to be some events going on there. So, keep track. And, so Simon, Jonah, Chris, thank y'all so much for your time tonight.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah,
we'll catch you on the next one for sure. It's always a pleasure.
Yep. We'll be back again.
Love you guys. Y'all be careful. Be safe.
All right. Take it easy, folks.
All
We'll
right,
see you next time.
taught how to shoot a gun just before that war begun. Then he left to take a stand, shed his blood for this great land. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields I do roam. I got nowhere to go, I'm headed down to Mexico. Don't know if things could get much worse. Daddy must have left me with some curse. Called a man with my wife, I loaded up and I took their lives. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields I do roam. I got nowhere to go, I'm headed down to Mexico. Got hold of this bottle, got nowhere to live. Hate this life that I'm living, don't know how much more I can give. Now I'm leaving my home, across the fields I do roam. I got nowhere to go, I'm headed down to Mexico.